Hello everyone, so today I'm going to be doing my December wrap-up. Yes, December. I cannot believe the year is already over. That is just crazy. I feel like this year has gone by really fast, and I'm very excited to share all of these books with you. I'm just pulling up my Goodreads, but I did not read the best in December. I read just not as many books as I wanted to. I felt a little lackluster, not that motivated, and I also got sick, so that wasn't the best thing to happen. But I'm very excited to share all these books with you. So the first book I read in December was A Light in the Flame by Jennifer Armentrout. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Honestly, thinking back on it now, I still want to give it 4 stars, but I just remember it being... Bruiser, stop. I just remember it being like kind of boring. Like it just felt like the same thing over and over again, like nothing really happening. It's a continuation of the prequel series of like From Blood and Ash. And I feel like not a lot of information was like new and just felt kind of boring. Like I liked the first book more, but I did like the romance and I felt like it was very spicy and I really loved the romance. Just like not as much the plot, so that's why I'm giving it 4 stars. But it was very chunky and I thought it was fine. I thought it was good. I definitely did like the first book better, but that's all I feel like really want to say right now. The next book I read was On the Way to the Wedding, and I gave this one 5 stars. This is Julia Quinn. This is Gregory's story, and Gregory is one of the Bridgerton brothers, and he is like the youngest Bridgerton brother, and he is like the one brother who's like doesn't have an aversion to love, and I really like that about him. I think it's really funny. And so basically he falls in love with this woman from like afar, and he's like, oh my gosh, like I have to marry this woman. And then he starts spending time with her and her best friend, and the best friend is the heroine. And so the hero Gregory, he is like kind of like slowly starting to really like the heroine, but he's like, well, didn't I fall in love with this woman? Like, he's so confused. And then when they finally start getting together, he realized that she is engaged to somebody else, but it's like a marriage of convenience. And it was really fun. I really liked it. I thought it was a great end to this book. And I love like all of the family aspect and him kind of like figuring out what his true feelings are, realizing, well, maybe I'm not in love with this person, but I'm really in love with the heroine. And I really liked it. I listened to it on audio and thought it was just phenomenal. I love the audios for the Bridgerton series, but it was pretty good and I really liked it, so I give it 5 stars. The next book I read in December was Between the Devil and Desire by Lorraine Heath. So this one, I really liked this one. I thought it was really fun. So our heroine is a new widower, newly widowed, and she has a son, and the hero is actually becoming like the sole beneficiary of her late husband's will, and he is the one who's going to control the will until her son is old enough, and she absolutely hates him, detests him. He's a rogue, and she's like, you're horrible, I don't want you around my son. It's actually pretty funny. And she like at one point tries to like take her son and like leave, and he like catches them, and it's really funny. But they have a hate to love romance, and it's really good. Their banter is amazing. I just fell in love with this book. This is definitely my favorite in the series. It was so much fun. I just love their relationship, and I thought it was so much fun. And there was some like tension and angst towards the end with some action because I think some people were out to kill them. So it was a great book. I loved it. I love all the action and the tension and the angst and the relationship and in the plot, and thought it was just fantastic. So the next book I read is what gave me a major slump in December, which is a part of my December slump, was Anastasia. So I have been waiting like all year to read this book. I was so excited, had so many high expectations for this book, and I feel disappointed. I give this one 3 stars. I just was disappointed by this book. I absolutely adore Sophie Lark, and I love her writing, and I think her writing in this book was amazing. Like, her style of writing was incredible. Like the best writing I feel like she's ever done was in this book. But I feel like this was a historical fiction YA novel with some romance in it. Like I feel like it was not a fantasy romance. Like I feel like the romance was overshadowed by the plot and the historical context. So this is a Anastasia retelling with some fantasy in it. And like the first good chunk of the book is basically just Anastasia and her family and learning about the family and the relationships in the family, and it just was just a lot of information, which I did appreciate. I did like the historical context, but I didn't love how the romance was overshadowed. I feel like maybe this would have hit better if this was over the span of 2 books maybe, and did like the first part, like the past and then the present. I did like the plot twist in this one, but I just feel like the romance was overshadowed, and I didn't really feel a connection with the heroine and hero, and some of the scenes that I really wanted were just off page. Like they would maybe have a scene where, oh, they were like walking and had a conversation. Well, that was off page, and then it moved to the next scene, or it was more about like the historical context of like the war and stuff. And I just felt like, well, wait, where's the romance? So I did not love this one, and I feel sad about it still, but I am excited for her next release, which is going to be like a vampire romance series, and I'm excited for that. And I did enjoy like the historical context and stuff, and I think that was like very well researched and was really, really interesting, but I do think the romance was overshadowed by that. But I'm going to give this one 3 stars, and that's all I have to say right now. So the next book I read was a novella by Catherine Cowles called Snowbound. It is kind of a friends to lovers, like second chance romance, and the heroine is like going to visit her like brother's best friend like in a cabin in the snow, and she thinks that like her ex-boyfriend is out to get her. So it was kind of fun. It's only like 50 pages and it's free through her newsletter, so I really enjoyed that. And then I read Surrender to the Devil by Lorraine Heath. This one was so good. This is another part of the Scoundrel of St. James series. I gave this one 5 stars. It was amazing. So our heroine, Franny, she just keeps seeing the hero Sterling like everywhere, and they start kind of like a friendship. I feel like it wasn't as well, it was still dark as the other ones. This series is very dark. She does get sexually assaulted. Not like on page, but it's from like the past. And she kind of has a dark past, and he kind of thinks she's just this like low woman, but then he gets to know her and starts to really like her. And it was just like kind of a more character-driven romance. And Sterling, the hero, just like really wants to be with her and love her, and I just really love that. And he just wants to take care of her after all she's gone through, and I just really like that. And he helped her with like her children's like orphanage that she's doing, and she would like go on the streets and try to find children to bring back so that they would have like a safe home, and I just love that in this book. But I really enjoyed it. I listened to it on audio, and it was a really good audio book, and it was just really good. I really enjoyed it. I did a reread of Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. I just love this book so much and this whole series, and I just was like feeling it, and I was like, well, why don't I just reread it? So I reread it. This is about Michael and Rika is like like her boyfriend is Michael's younger brother, well, her ex-boyfriend, and so it's like a boyfriend's brother's romance, and it was really, really, it's one of my favorite books ever. And one night, like, Michael and his friends do this thing called Devil's Night every year, and they throw a big party, and they do all these like pranks. And one night something bad happened where 3 of them went to jail except Michael, and so the 3 of them really blame Rika, and so now it's the present time, and they're out to get Rika, get revenge on her, but Michael's like slowly falling in love with her, and it's kind of hate to love, pining, forbidden, dark, really just a fun romance. Like if you like dark romance, I definitely recommend this as like a beginner for dark romance, and I just really enjoyed it. And I just love this series so much, so of course I gave it 5 stars. So good. And then the last book I read in December was a Christmas romance, and that was 'Tis the Season for Revenge by Morgan Elizabeth. I give this one 5 stars. It was so good. So our heroine, her boyfriend breaks up with her on Halloween, basically saying, you're a bimbo, like, I think you're stupid, you're blonde, you're, you know, all of these things, kind of like Legally Blonde. And she is so upset, and so she's like, okay, well, I gotta get my revenge on him. So she matches with the her boyfriend's boss on like a dating app, and she's like, well, I'll get back at him by dating his boss. So she ends up starting to date his boss, and that's the hero, and they start falling in love, and it's really good. He is like one of my favorite heroes of all time. He's just the sweetest, like he adores her, like he's just amazing. I love him so much. Like he's one of my favorite heroes. He's so sweet. He wants what's best for the heroine, just always has her back, and so she's like starting to feel bad about her plan. And that's like kind of the romance. It's a holiday romance, and she's like falling in love, but she's like, how do I tell him that I like had this revenge plan? And it's really good. I just absolutely loved it. It's very spicy, and it was such a great time. One of my favorite holiday romances ever. And that is all I read in December. I read, gosh, how many books did I read? I read 8 books, so not my best month, but I'm going to give myself a pat on the back because I did have a reading slump and I got sick, so I'm just like, whatever. But I did reach my reading goal, so I read 138 books in 2022, which is pretty good. The year before that, I think I read 165. So I'm really trying to focus this year on listening to audiobooks so I can read as much as I possibly can. But I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and down below let me know what books you read this month and what your favorites were, because I would love to know. And that is it for this video, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.